I know I've already done a video on window design, but I was looking back at it and I thought, what was I thinking? You know what, in fact, hey past Grian!
Yeah?
What were you thinking?
I don't know. Hey, have we won the lottery yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So I've decided to redo my video on Windows since I saw quite a few comments asking for it in the first place. But before we begin, remember that Who's Your Daddy map that me and Team Wooloo made? Well, I have a very special announcement for you at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And now let's get on with the windows. So I'm going to explain the format that I'm going to try and follow with this video because there's a lot of buildings here and it can get a little bit confusing. So the idea is to drive home a singular point about windows, how you have the base idea, add the details, and it has to fit the context of the house. So you can see here that I've got two different bits, the window on its own and the details that work with it. So it is a very simple window. Within a frame, it is just a glass pane, 3 blocks on top of each other. But once you add this overhang made of cobblestone, match it with some good looking fence, you get a result that really complements the build. The build on its own, without the windows, looks incredibly strange. The detailing's great, the shape is awesome, but without the windows, it doesn't work. So as you can see, once we've added them, the house feels a lot more complete. So what I'm trying to immediately drive home here is that windows are essential for building. Now, this one is a little bit strange. Yes, it's redstone block, but apparently some people see it as just a non-transparent glass pane, especially with the pattern when they intermingle. It's a very expensive block to use if you went down this path, but with the right detailing, I can see where they're coming from, although personally, I still will forever see it as a redstone lamp. However, we're going to put it in context of a build. As you can see again, flat walls, not very interesting, but when you add them, it actually looks really great, and you could even replace them with a glass pane to get a completely different feel on top of this example. So next up we have, again, another simple design with just a glass pane, but with a slightly different detailing, and again I'm driving home the point that the detailing and the context of these windows is what is really important. However, I would put this all under the window category. What I did wrong in my last video was just show windows, and not a lot about the design. So it's very simple, you can just add the glass panes without messing up like I did, and add some trapdoors on the side, along with a few wooden staircases in however you feel looks best. That's what's perfect about these window designs, is they're very adaptable, and I promise you I will have done it differently to the builder that made these examples. Speaking of which, let's go and see exactly what he did do. Now he's gone for a much more intricate design, but again, the very simple nature of these trapdoors and then having some staircase or slab above it in any sort of pattern really works in the context of this house design. Now you may want to go larger with your windows, and in a normal situation you might get something a little bland looking, but by adding an overhang we can really accentuate the point of the window. So in this context, we've filled the space with a really large window with different coloured paned windows. Paned windows? And it has a really nice effect. But I personally like working with smaller windows because I feel you can do more with the detailing. When you start working on a larger scale, it's harder to make the windows fit. On this example, you can actually mix in glass panes with a bunch of different blocks. And you can see how in this example it actually looks fairly good without windows, but there is that little bit of blank space. So just by mixing in some of the glass panes with those stone and clay blocks that again match the palette of the build, you can really stylize it. You're probably sick of seeing these two glass panes, but again, this is just another example of how you can decorate it using staircases and wall blocks, even on builds like this where there's not a lot of space. So moving swiftly on, there is another style that I want to show you, and this time it actually uses 2 layers, the first one being the frame and the second layer being the glass block. The difference on this design is that the frame is the detailing using the shape, so by placing down different layers of staircases and half slabs, you can produce something really good looking. So when in place, it looks a little bit something like this. The larger the house, the more in place this feels. So this is just a singular glass pane, and this is my favourite design for windows, as you probably have seen in the past. You simply place down some sort of windowsill and then add a fence gate with a trapdoor on the top. You can get the most intricate design on the smallest windows by using this design. It really fits in with a multitude of builds, but particularly wooden ones such as this, even when you've got pink walls. And I suppose by now you'll be fed up of just seeing flat glass panes, but the point is the details make all the difference even in all of these different house situations. But this one actually uses fences. It really only works when the palette matches. Fortunately, we have loads of different coloured fence blocks now. But in this case, a sandstone based house really works well, and I know I've used trapdoors quite a lot, but I find them way better than half slabs because they're thinner, and you really do get what you kind of expect with that kind of window on this build. But now's a pretty good time to thank the people that actually went through all the effort of making these. We all agreed on the windows that we were going to use, but I've been so busy this week, they really did me a favour, so I want to thank Scotty, Pearl, Botbox, AdjustMe, Avux, and Blackie-chan for putting together all of these houses for me while I've been incredibly busy. But let's get back into the windows. You don't actually have to use glass as we've just learnt with the fences, but you can actually use iron bars. They work just as well as long as you use them in the correct situation. But first let me show you this little technique. When you place down a glass pane, it has this little bit of space in between. Now you can utilize this really well by having a staircase that matches roughly that right angle and meets it on the top, and this works the same with iron bars. By placing that staircase on the top and the bottom, it really funnels in the eyes so that it matches and details the entire window a lot nicer. The next one is actually a little bit odd, mainly because of the house behind it. Thank you, Scotty, for the weird house. But what it does is something very different, and I wonder if you guys can come up with something a little more creative. So we've got the normal window, right? But behind it we have some end rods, and you can actually make it look like it has an internal frame by doing this. I know it sparkles, but Scotty said it just makes it look cleaner. Not sure if I agree, but perhaps you guys can come up with something else. These videos are intended to inspire and spark some creativity, so I really like the idea, but whether it's practical or not is to be seen. Next up we just have another pane design, and I'm not going to spend too much time, I'm literally just going to show you because you are well aware of how it works now. So as you can see, it just fills in the middle, nothing special, but again, showing you how these can adapt to different designs. This one's a little bit different however, because it has no filler whatsoever. It is, as people have rightly pointed out, not great for protection against mobs, but in the context of a desert house, you can just add these holes, making sure that you can't just walk through them, and get a fairly decent result. Using staircases again as our primary detailer, you can get a really nice looking desert house. This one uses fence gate instead of normal fence, and again using trapdoors to detail it, and you're probably sick of seeing the trapdoors by now, but I'll do a little bit of an explanation. We use those so that they can open up. The trapdoors have a unique property in Minecraft, the fact that you can get this tiniest gradual incline, but only on a couple of blocks, so you can really generate a nice effect with trapdoors when you use them correctly and sparingly. The last design that I want to show you is to do with patterns within stained glass. The norm here is to just have normal glass blocks behind a frame, but when you add a bit of detail around it, but more importantly when you change the glass to be stained glass, you can turn a church with only walls into a church that has a lot more character and colour by using stained glass to paint a picture. In this case it's the cross for the church, but it could be literally anything. In my original video I actually made a little scene with some grass, a sky and a house, but you do need a rather large window for this to work. So that's it. I hope these designs have Probably it sparked some imagination on their own, but the whole point was to demonstrate how the windows should be used to generate a detailing that is above and beyond the norm. A lot of time and effort went into making all of these builds to demonstrate this very simple but effective point. I hope that anyone watching this that struggles with window design now kind of gets it. Most people think that they need to just put the glass or glass pane in their build for it to work. No, you need to integrate the detailing around the window and have it in the style and palette of the build in general. Building is all about the overall effect and not the individual design, which is what I did wrong in my original video. Anyway, that's it from me, but first, I have the announcement to make about the Who's Your Daddy map. Team Wooloo and I have decided to make the map public. Team Wooloo is going to be releasing a trailer and the link for download on their channel, so hop on over there and make sure you're subbed so you're ready for that release. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Goodbye!